Happy to see you all here. ESL OSCT presents Top Talks is introducing an amazing session which is very essential in the present scenario. I'm Lidvija Nelaveni, pursuing second year chemical engineering from University College of Technology, Usmania University. Today I have an interesting topic for all of us and of course an esteemed guest too. We are going to discuss eternal wisdom for modern times. Let this Thursday morning get all of us together to travel into true wisdom. Vinay ji, a philosopher and founder of Wisdom Foundation, he is a great thinker and self-management expert. His translation of complex Vedic principles into practical tools of living is backed by 25 years of in-depth study and research on Vedas and Upanishads. He started his Vedic journey at his 16. His talks have inspired many lives, thousands of people to transform their lives. And today it's our turn to reach out to him and listen to his thoughts. Hari Om Vinay ji, a very warm welcome to you.
Hari Om Lidvija Nelavani. Lidvija, okay.
Lidvija Nelavani.
How do I call you comfortably without, your name seems to be a tongue twister for me. Okay, but so sweet of you all and so nice, Lidvija. Very happy to be here with you all to spend this morning. Also, firstly, Hari Om sir to Shravan Garu, for making this happen, for initiating this. So I'm all for you all for the next 1.5 hours.
Yes. Coming to the discussion, Vinay ji, we want you to tell us about Vedas. What actually Vedas are? Most of us are students. We want to know what briefly Vedas are about. Okay.
As the topic itself suggests, the topic is eternal wisdom for modern times. Now, the subject eternal refers to the knowledge of Vedanta. Vedanta is known as Sanatana Dharma. Now, the two Sanskrit words, very familiar for most. Sanatanam means something which is eternal. Eternal means something which has been flowing from a long time. We do not know when it all started, but it has been flowing. You do not know it. I don't know it. Our ancestors don't know it. Our forefathers didn't know it. It has been going from time immemorial. Means a long time. Sanatanam, eternal. Dharma means the principles. So Sanatana Dharma means eternal principles. Principles which govern your life and my life. So Vedanta is nothing but a manual to our life. You understand this?
Yes. Thank you, Vinay ji. And you can address me like Liddu.
Liddu, okay, that's your pet name, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And moreover, our college principal is here.
Oh.
Shyam Sundar Garu.
Namaskaram,
Good morning, sir.
Namaskaram. Glad you could join us today.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's really relating. And moreover,
yes, Lidvija.
How can yes.
we have Sethraman sir, Sugala Venkat Satyanarayana sir from JNTU, Hyderabad, and Shyam Sundar sir from our college principal sir. So warm welcome to each and everyone.
Yeah.
Yes, Lidvija, go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, actually, we have seen many words like knowledge, wisdom, Vedas, and everything like eternal. How can we relate all these things to the modern life?
A very good question. Before I get to that, looks like, the way you have changed the interface of the screen, I'm actually looking at myself. So it looks a little bit odd to look at myself. This is better. Now I am seeing you. And with your lovely smile. So it makes me more inspired to talk now.
Thank you.
Okay. So the question you're asking is, when we say eternal wisdom, how is that relevant to our modern times? Now, it is very important to know in simple terms. See, Vedanta, or this Vedic wisdom, deals with the laws which govern life. Just like science is a subject which you and I have learned compulsorily, which deals with the laws which govern the world we live in. The world we live in has physical laws, chemical laws, biological laws, geographical laws, physiological laws, etc. And you have no choice but to learn some of these laws, because it becomes important to understand what you are dealing with, what you're interacting with. At the same time, in the same breath, you must understand wisdom deals with laws which govern your life and my life. In fact, for that matter, every human life. Just like the geographical law has been the same from the very first moment, isn't it? It has not changed. In fact, the law was there even before Newton discovered it, isn't it?
Yes.
Similarly, these laws which govern a human being have been existing from the very moment, from the very origin. Now, whether you know it or not, even our lives are governed by laws. And you know, when you don't follow a particular law, what happens? You don't follow a particular law, the law punishes you, isn't it? So how this eternal wisdom has relevance to our life is it helps us to live with our lives by understanding what is the laws that govern us. And what are the laws that govern a human being? The external laws govern the world, vis-a-vis the internal laws govern a human being. Now, they are the laws of birth and death. Every person is born. Why is he born in a particular way? Why is he born into a particular environment? Why does a person die all of a sudden? Why does a person doesn't die even when you want him to die? Yeah? Any number of prayers, any number of visits to the temples, you want him to die, but yet some people don't die. Why that happens? What is it that governs birth and death? So there's a law that governs it. There is a law of life which tells you what you desire and what you deserve. You may be desiring many things in life, but there's a law which governs your deserving abilities. So there's a law of attachment. There are emotional laws. There are intellectual laws. There are spiritual laws. So it is very important for us to know what these laws are. And that brings us to the current moment, that brings us to our lives, that brings us to the important aspect that you and I need to have a manual to live life. Yes. And that is what the eternal wisdom connects us to the present. As simple like when you buy a television, doesn't it come with a manual? As simple as it says, in fact, especially some of you all must have seen IKEA, which has launched in India, in Hyderabad, the first time. But some of them who have lived abroad or have had the experience of going overseas, IKEA, they all have dismantled furniture. So if you say you want to pick up a table lamp, or you want to pick up a study table, or even a side table, it's all packed up so beautifully. Yeah. And you just bring a box to the home, and they will give you the X number of items that's packed in that, the number of screws, the number of bends, the number of straps, whatever is required to mantle it, to put it together. And believe me or not, every screw has a particular place and it only fits there. Yes. And if you do not know how to fit it, you will make a mess of that furniture. A simple thing like fixing a table or a lamp needs a manual. If you want to perfect life, doesn't it need a manual?
Of course.
Of course, isn't it? I'm glad you're following me. And that manual is this wisdom of life. And sadly, this wisdom or this manual is not being taught anywhere, Ma. It's not being taught. So you
Yeah.
do not know it. I do not know it. Most people do not know it until somebody comes on to you and says, there is a manual like this. And you will react and say, oh, I did not know. Isn't it?
Yes.
So that's what is the connection of the ancient wisdom to current times of my life and your life and our lives.
Yes.
Okay.
And Vinayji, as you are saying, what made you to learn at that certain age? Like it's 16. Most of us don't know what it is all about. And what made you to think about that at that particular age?
As I've said, most of you may not know. Some of you who are in the group today know a little bit of my background. But for those who are not aware of it, it all happened as an accident. As I've said, nobody told me that there's a manual and I need to learn it at a certain stage of my life. Like, you know, in an education system, there is kindergarten, there is the first standard, there second standard, and the fifth standard, 10th standard, and you graduate and you go on to the higher levels of learning. You get what you need to learn at the kindergarten level. What you learn at the fifth standard comes in the fifth standard level. But there's also this knowledge of life, the manual of life. At what stage you think it must be given? Well, nobody knows about it. When I say nobody, my parents didn't know about it. Why didn't they know? Their parents didn't teach them, and their colleagues didn't teach them, and nobody knew about it. So I also was lost. I also did not know at 16. But thanks to my dad, I'm so grateful for him. One evening, he just took me to a lecture on the Bhagavad Gita. And the reason he took me was because from a very young age, I had a liking for the English language. I had an appreciation for language. And the person who was lecturing on the Gita had a great command of the language. So he said, you just come, you listen to him, you like listening to him. So I went that evening, and believe me, I was so taken away by the content, the message made so much sense to me. And this is what in gist was said, that you need to learn how to live before you learn to live life. And then my journey started, and it was not easy. I was actually rejected because I was very young. And then I somehow found my entry into the institution. They did a trial on me. And thereafter, they found me coping very well. And thereafter, I never looked back. It is close to 30 years. Thereafter, devoted my life to full-time study, research, and sharing these ideas like I'm doing now with lovely people like you all.
Thank you, Vinayji. Actually, that was my next question. Like, what are your parents' reaction after you decided to be like that?
What are my parents' reactions? I think you should ask my parents. Because I can't be speaking for them, you see. But all what I can say is this decision of my dad and my parents in particular was not understood or much less appreciated by my larger family, my cousins or nephews or my uncles and aunts. They didn't understand what I was getting into.
Yeah.
They didn't understand then, nor do they understand now. All they know is this guy is still, he's doing something and he's a normal fellow. He's not become cuckoo, you know, something not abnormal. He doesn't do normal things. He comes to the functions, he participates with us, he lives a normal life, he has a family, he goes about doing everything normal like all of us. So they still accept me, but they don't come to what I do. They don't understand what I do. So I must thank my parents for giving me the freedom to explore something which fascinated me. And the first thought, the first impression of this knowledge enamored me. I said, wow, it's so beautiful. I want to learn it. I want to experience it. And they said, go. And at 16, how you do that? How would anybody allow that? They thought, my uncles all remember telling my dad, Era, you know, my father's elder brother is calling his younger brother, he will say, Era, you know, Era, only son, you're pushing him to an ashram. What is this? See, so it was not understood then, even now it's not understood. But I think from what I gather, they're very, very proud for the work I do, for the journey I've taken, and how this is impacting lives of people and how it's all going, you know. So I have their blessings right throughout, and I have their support. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's really nice. Actually, we all feel for that. Like we need our support, parent support for whatever we are doing, like that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll come. I'm sure it'll come.
And I want to know that what's the best thing that you have learned from all these 30 years?
All I can say is it has taught me how to live life.
Oh.
And all I can say is I am far from perfect in it. And all I can say is there's a lot I need to learn. And all I can say is there's a long way to go. You know, ignorance, ignorance of not knowing something doesn't protect you. You know, ignorantly you go and touch your mom had removed the cooker from the stove and she put to the side. Not knowing, you went and touched the hot cooker. Does the fire pardon you? Or it will burn your finger?
Burn my finger.
I've burnt my finger. Will the fire say, okay, innocently you touched me, ignorantly you touched me, I will give you a warning this time. Second time I'll burn you. Will the law say that? The law of fire doesn't say that. So ignorance of not knowing these laws of life doesn't immune you from the consequences of life. So ignorance of not knowing these laws, mark these words, the ignorance of not knowing these laws doesn't protect you or immune you from the consequences of your ignorance or the actions you perform. Teliyakunda, if you do something, without knowing you do something, it doesn't protect you. For example, you go to US and you start driving there. And as you know, in US and certain Western countries, it is left-hand drive. Left-hand drive means you got to drive on the right side. Like in India, it's right-hand drive, you got to drive on the left side of the road. That's how it is. But if you go and drive in US as you would do in India, and if the police stop you and say, what are you doing? You would say, sir, what am I doing? I'm driving. Yes, sir, I know you're driving, but you're driving on the wrong side. Oops. Sorry, sir. I did not know. He'll say, pay the fine. You better know now. See, there is no way you're going to escape by breaking the law, whether be it a man-made law or the divine law. All what I have learned is laws govern life, and it is my duty to know what governs life so that I live a life perfectly. And so it is your duty to find out what governs my life so that you go about living a perfect life. Don't you own it to your life to live it perfectly?
Of course.
As a daughter, don't you owe to your parents that you must become a good daughter?
Yes.
As a student, don't you owe to your university that you must excel as an excellent student?
Of course.
Now, much before that, I owe it to myself as a human being that I must be a perfect human being. And for that, I need a manual. And all I've learned is I want to become perfect. I'm just started my journey. And I know there's a long way to go. And my ignorance is not going to protect me. That's all I'll say, Ma.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
And when Nikhil Anna is ready with his question, he wants to ask you a question.
Yes, please.
Nikhil Anna.
Hari Om Ji.
Hari Om.
So the question.
Hari Om, Nikhil. Yes.
So what kind of practices we have to do to attain that, to know that manual, like wisdom?
Okay, a good question. So what are the kinds of practices, what exercises one needs to do to gain this wisdom? Now, just to bring in certain clarity to what this wisdom is. Wisdom, in fact, can be simply understood as clarity of thought. Okay. Can I have Nikhil on my big screen? How much ever I would love to keep seeing your smile, but I would still have the questionnaire to be seen. Good. Yeah. So I know since he's asking, I can address him. So even though I'm addressing you all through him, but I would like to see Nikhil. Nikhil. Okay. So I said wisdom is best understood as clarity of thought. Now, clarity of thought is not information, is neither experience. You can be well informed about something. You may have a lot of experience of something, but that doesn't make you wise. Now, for you to understand this, I'll take a classic example. You know, if you want to run a seminar on alcoholism, you want someone to run a seminar on alcoholism to give you the entire details of what an alcohol is. You know who is the best qualified person to do that? An alcoholic himself. A fellow who is alcoholic, he will tell you what is alcohol. He will tell you what are the consequences of being away from alcohol during the lockdown. He will tell you what is the consequences of having over alcohol. He can run a full seminar on alcohol, isn't it? But does it make him a wise man? You know that, I know that. So wisdom is not how long you have lived life. You don't gain wisdom by how long you have lived life. You don't gain wisdom by how much information you have with you. And today we are in an era where there's so much of information, isn't it? Inundated, excess of information. So wisdom is nothing but clarity of thought. Oh, very well said, sir. But you may say, sir, what do you mean clarity of thought? I need little clarity on clarity of thought. Yes. What is that clarity of thought? One measuring tool to find out whether you have wisdom or not is the ability to control your mind, control your emotions, control your impulses, control your desires. These are all the realm of the mind and the manas. Every human has got this called manas. Manas means the mind, and the mind consists of desires. All of us have desires, don't we? All of us have certain likes and dislikes. All of us have certain emotions. So the ability to control that is known as wisdom. Now there's a beautiful saying. The saying is, it is the character of wisdom. It's the character of wisdom not to do desperate things. Can you repeat that, Nikhil, for me?
It is the character of wisdom to not desperate things.
Not to do desperate things. Desperate ante you don't do things. You know, one of my students, a very successful hotelier, he is a senior head of staff, something in an hotel industry. And he said this statement to me many years ago, and I keep saying that every lecture, wherever possible, context arises. And he said, Guruji, you know, my life can be summed up this one simple statement. And he said, I have acted in haste and I'm repenting in leisure. Acting in haste ante తొందరపడి ఏదో మిస్టేక్ చేశాను, నా ఆరాంగా కూర్చొని సఫర్ అవుతున్నాను. అర్థమవుతుందా? Some stupid thing I did, you know, and now I have acted in haste. Impulsive ga think చేయకుండా, ఆలోచన లేకుండా I have acted something. And I'm paying a very big price for that. Leisurely, I have all the time to pay the price for my impulsive act. So wisdom is not of the nature to do desperate things. You understand? So how do you attain wisdom? Can be attained by what kind of purpose The purpose is, one of the most important thing to gain this wisdom is to start questioning. And sadly, we don't question things. We have accepted things for what they are. Just because somebody has done things in the past, just because people have done it, we just blindly do things, isn't it? Now, just all of you are young. For those who are already married and done, it's too late for you all. But those of you all are young, I'm sure you will all would be considering marriage or would be getting into marriage. Now, why would you want to take marriage or get into that relationship of marriage? Would you say, oh, because my father got married, my mother got married, my uncle got married, my aunt got married, therefore I also will marry? Would you say that? If you say that, you are not questioning, you're not using intellect. That doesn't develop wisdom. You know, if you carefully think and apply yourself, just to get into a marriage, there are 6 reasons why anybody would want to get married. 6 reasons. And you tell me 2 or 3, I'll congratulate you. And I will not tell the 6 reasons. So don't ask me the next question. Then the next of the 1 hour will be only on the 6 reasons of getting married. Then Shravan will say, what sir, what are you talking? We want to talk eternal wisdom for modern times and you're talking about marriage and relationship. Sir, please come back to the topic, he would say, you know.
Then we'll definitely have a session for that.
I knew this is the most sought topic for me, so I don't get into this topic at all. But how do you develop your intellect is by questioning. Don't accept anything blindly that has been done by others. Question it. And there is a verse in the Gita which says a true quality of a student is, he says, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya, he says. He says one of the qualities of a student is to question. A spiritual teacher is telling the student to question the teacher. Don't accept because I have said so. In the Gita, as Krishna is saying to Arjuna, question me, man. Don't accept just because somebody said it, just because the Guru says it, because a Mahatma said it, because the teacher said it. No, don't accept it on that face value. Question it. Now, don't question it with arrogance, please. Who am I in compared to their knowledge and wisdom? So you question with pranipatena, with devotion. So these 2, and then he gives another quality called you must be of service to the teacher or be of service to others. The 3 essential qualities of a student. Now I'm only taking the first and the second aspect, which is to question with devotion and humility, so that you have exercised your intellect. So when you question it, I'm just recapping what I've said. How do you develop this wisdom? Wisdom is clarity of thought. Wisdom is not information, nor is it experience. You gain wisdom by questioning, and you question with devotion. When you take this approach, what happens is the knowledge you have is reflected. When you reflect on the knowledge gets digested. And when you digest the knowledge, you get wisdom. Just like the food you eat, your system digests the food. And when the food is digested, it gets converted into calories. It gives you energy. Imagine the food you eat doesn't get digested. You're in for some trouble. So the knowledge people have is not being processed, is not being understood, is not being digested. It is not being made their own. So you have to go through the process to make the knowledge your own. And when you make it your own, it is wisdom. And then you start living this knowledge. And the test is you control your emotions, your anger, your desires, your greed. You don't act on likes and dislikes. You know, in the Gita, he says, Ragadvesha Vyuktaha, he says, you must act free from your likes and dislikes. You must do what is the right thing to do, not because you like to do it. Nikhil, remember this. What you like to do may not be the right thing to do in life. Possible. isn't it? What you don't like may be the right thing to do. So this is what wisdom gives you, that ability to make the right choices in life. Okay.
Thank you.
Most welcome. Right.
Thank you, Niklana. Thank you, Vinayji. And that was really pretty interesting and relatable. And I want to know, like, how can we detach from our diversities? As you said, we should do the right thing, right? I mean, apart from the things which we like, we should do the right things. How can we get that detachment? If our heart is dying to do the things which we like, so we should do the right thing. How can we do that? How can we get that detachment from that?
See, very, very good question. Very good question. How does one develop that detachment or ability to do the right thing, even though when you have a liking for something? A simple thing like, a diabetic patient. Do you know what is diabetic patient?
Sugar patient.
How do you know?
I mean, most of my aunts, uncles are suffering from that.
That's good. I know you are far from it, isn't it? Now, what is that for you? That is information for you, isn't it? Now, why did they become diabetic? Science says very small percentage of his hereditary, a large percentage is determined by the life you lead, the discipline you bring to life. There is a certain percentage of hereditary, fair enough, but most of it is your lifestyle, your effort, and the choices. Now, let's say you have a sweet tooth. Means you like sweets and chocolates. Do you like sweets and chocolates? No wonder you are such a sweet person. Now I got the sweet. So you must, in private, you must tell me what sweet you like. Maybe I also will start eating them to become as sweet as you. No, that will be a secret between you and me. Don't give it out to everyone. Huh?
Okay.
Now, see, when I'm trying to bring you to the essential thing, how to be detached from something you like. Now, there are two elements in a human being. One is the manas, as I've said a little earlier to Nikhil. Another is the buddhi, the intellect. Please learn this. This is not taught in institutions, nor does education institution develop this. There's the manas, the mind, and then the buddhi, the intellect. Okay? So the mind in you craves for sweets, has a liking for sweets. And the intellect in the buddhi, intellect is the buddhi, which clearly tells you, even though you like sweets, I don't think you should have that many sweets. Isn't it? So there's two voices from within, aren't there?
Yes.
Something you know which is the right thing to do, and something which tells you, chalo yaar, never mind, let's do it. Nobody is watching me. That kind of a freelance attitude to life. You just want to have fun. You just want to have maja. You just want to be what you want. No, exams are not there. You don't have to get up and go for a walk. You don't have to study. You don't have to exercise. Just sleep. Nice weather, nice rain, nice blanket and nice comfort. Let me sleep till 10 o'clock morning. I know you may not do that, but sometimes the thought comes into my mind, why not sleep till 10 o'clock in the morning? I know you are very disciplined, but my mind is very indisciplined. My mind will say, why don't you sleep till 10 o'clock? But then your intellect says, I don't think it's the right thing to do. You know what time I got up this morning? 3:45 a.m. It has been my discipline in life that I get up at 4:30 every morning. You ask me, do I like to do it? I don't like to do it. But I know it is the right thing to do. So when you develop this wisdom through the process, when I answered Nikhil, when you start using the process of questioning, when you use this Vedantic knowledge as a tool. See, you must question this knowledge. You must understand these values, learn these instructions. When you learn this over a period of time, when I say a period of time, in a matter of 2-3 months, if you do it on a daily basis, you will start getting the clarity or the intellectual strength to do what is the right thing to do. Now what's happening, even though you know what's the right thing to do, the mind is strong. So the mind decides what to do. You know, Bernard Shaw was asked, can you please define what is cigarette? He defined, he said, cigarette is, he says, take a little bit of tobacco, roll it in a piece of paper with fire on one end and fuel at the other. I'll repeat. Take a little bit of tobacco, roll it in a piece of paper, you light the cigar on the other end, the cigarette on the other end, and you put it in your mouth. So fire at other end and fuel at the other. So that was his hilarious way of describing smoking. Now, a person who is addicted to smoking, you think he doesn't know what he's doing to his health?
Yes.
He very much knows it. Then why can't he control, or why can't he get away from that wrong habit? Because his mind is more powerful than the intellect. He has the knowledge undi tanaki. He knows what is the right thing to do, but he doesn't have the intellect to decide. That intellect is known as the wisdom.
Oh.
And this is not taught in education institutions, not here, nor in the best universities in the world. You can go to Cambridge, you can go to Oxford, you can go to the finishing school in Switzerland. It is not taught. It is not because I didn't go to there, you'll not get it. I'm telling you for certain, it is not taught anywhere. And it is that great wisdom. We must be proud. You and I must be proud that we have this Vedic wisdom. It originated with us. We must actually roar it to the world. Humanity needs it. And humanity at large is paying a price for not learning this wisdom because you're not doing the right things for you and the society. Imagine I go to a party, get drunk, and start driving recklessly. I can destroy my life however I want. But what right have I got to be responsible for others' suffering? Imagine what will happen if I start drunk and driving. Isn't it a reckless thing to do?
Yes.
So like that, we are responsible not only for our suffering, we are also creating others' suffering because we don't know what to do the right thing. Whether be it relationships, whether be it the work you do, whatever you ought to do, you're not doing it. So imagine how beautiful it would be. Everybody is doing whatever he has to do in the best possible way. Wow, isn't it? You go out,
Yes.
you go out, the person who has to do the garbage, he is picking up the garbage. The guy who has to deliver the milk, he's delivering the milk on time. The government servants who are supposed to do the job, they're doing on the time. Everything happens meticulously. But things don't happen that way, isn't it? Things don't happen like that in the best place in the world. I'm not talking of our country. In the best place in the world, things are not right. There's something wrong out there because you know what is the right thing and you're not doing the right thing. And that's because you lack that wisdom to take over and give a direction to your life. It's not that you do not know, you know it. Ma, it is not the question of ignorance. Ignorance ante I can help you. But the problem is the knowing.
Yeah. What can we do is to do, that's it we should do.
No, I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. The problem with people is not their ignorance. The problem with people is they think they know.
Oh.
Everybody thinks they know. Since they think they know, nobody wants this knowledge. That's the reason this wisdom is not known. And there is a principle of life. You must remember, knowledge is never given, it's taken. Knowledge is always taken. And since people think they know, they never take it. Therefore, people do not know this knowledge. But those people who understand, the wise people, the smart people like you all, understand that I need to learn this. I must congratulate you, and you all must congratulate yourself, and I congratulate you, all of you. I mean the young students, the elderly people are all beyond repair. I don't know what they're doing in this class. Nothing else to do, they have come here. Shravanji, please forgive me. I am only talking to students. So you have a head start over the rest of them, because you have such a wonderful opportunity, because you are here, not because you are here only, because you have the mindset, you are ready to listen to this great wisdom. You will have an edge over others. Believe me, you will have an edge. I had that edge because I started when I was young. So
Yeah.
if you always be humble, if you are a student of life, believe me, you will have no problem.
Yeah, that sounds really great. And as you said that the elder people are here to support us, like you should know at least.
Yes, I'm just having a go. Whenever I get a chance, I go have a go at them, because most of the average student's age, what is the average age of my students?
We don't know actually. He wants to ask that at what age people you address generally?
What age people usually I
Age group.
address? Usually, I keep addressing people who have seen far more life than me.
Oh.
Considering I have started lecturing when I was 19.
Oh.
I started lecturing when I was 19. I got into it 16. So right throughout, even today, after 30 years, I keep lecturing to people who have seen far more of life. So the average age of my students is 40 to 50, average age. And right from the age of 19, that's the age I've been seeing. So right through my life, I always feel I was very old. Because all the time talking to baldies or half baldies or gray haired fellows. So today I feel very young with you people, because very rarely get such young and vibrant and lovely people like you all.
Oh, that's so nice.
And
And
I'm not trying to flatter you all. I'm genuinely speaking my heart out. This is the average age of the people I address. Now,
why old only? Why? I mean,
Why?
why this not reaching out to the youngsters?
Why is it that old people are only coming to this knowledge? Is because of a certain misunderstanding. There is a certain, it's like people have not understood what this knowledge is all about. And it stems from that misunderstanding that you don't want your children to learn these principles. Like your parents would never have given the Bhagavad Gita in your hand and said, please read that Vedic books, please read Vedanta. Isn't it? They have not given a book of Vedanta to you and say, read, I think it's good for you. Why? Because they do not know what it is. They have misunderstood it. So what is Vedanta? It's usually a Vedanta or a Gita is usually a post-retirement works. So after retirement, when you have nothing else to do, you will be only looking at the daily engagements in the newspaper. Who is coming and talking on Gita? Which pravachanam is going on? Who is doing this chanting? What puja is going on? Provided it is free entry. If you have to pay 100 rupees and go, nobody will pay that. If it is free entry, chalo yaar, simply sitting in the house and listening to my wife constantly shouting at me, I will take a walk into a hall, nice air-conditioned hall, and what else? I'm listening to the Swami there, and nice comfort. I can have a nice sleep also, half an hour. So I sleep of half an hour, I sleep, little bit of entertainment and come back. So the whole perception of Gita is, it is considered a post-retirement text. And it is because of this misunderstanding. And also sadly, the gurus there out are not correcting this impression. So there is equal credit should be given to the lack of action by the certain people out there. It is the responsibility of the teachers to address this concern. It is a manual to life. You must learn how to live and then go about living. It is not live the way you want and then learn how to live after retirement. Meaning
Yes.
there is no meaning. I live the way I want, and at the end of my life, I'm almost entering the graveyard. I'm reading Bhagavad Gita. In fact, many people tell me, I'm sure you also have heard, whenever you hear the Ghantasala, the very famous Ghantasala,
Yes.
Bhagavad Gita is being played. You know when it is played? Good, you do not know.
After that, they will be playing.
I'm sorry, who is saying that?
Ujita Kai.
Who said that? Can you kindly repeat, please?
She said that after.
After when a close relative dies, they start playing Ghantasala's Bhagavad Gita there, and they think it is only should be played there. Puttina valu maraninchaka tappadu.
Correct. You're very right. Usually when somebody dies, even from a distance, when you hear the Ghantasala or when they're taking their body to the crematorium, they usually have this prayer as a form of a prayer, as a remembrance. They play certain slokas of the Gita. So you know somebody has died by hearing that song. So please don't play that song in the house. People will mistake something happened, tragedy in the house. You say, oh, I heard Vedantic discourse. So tomorrow onwards, I go to the Google and find out which is the most famous Gita. Ghantasala will come. Don't play in the house. Some confusion will happen and you'll come and attack me now. No, this is the tragedy of life. So the responsibility is on some of us who are trying to bring it out to people. There's effort, there's genuine effort. Please understand that. The fact that why do I keep saying that my journey started at that young? Just to tell people that I am myself an example to tell that it's not something it has to be learned later. It is something which has to be taught when you're young. And then live life, live a full life, live a beautiful life, live a healthy life, live a complete life, isn't it? Yeah, then you see the beauty of life. It's like, you know the game and then you go and play the game. Isn't it beautiful?
Yes.
Similarly, you learn the game of life and then go and play it. Sometimes you win the game. Sometimes the opposition wins the game. Never mind. Winning and losing is not the important thing. The most important thing is, do I know to play the game of life? Then you enjoy the game. It's not the question of success or failure, my dear. It's the question of whether you're enjoying the journey. And that is what this manual is all about. That is what this Vedanta is all about. That is what this Vedic wisdom is all about. And nobody understands this. Therefore, people learn it after retirement. What a loss. What a loss.
Then we are lucky today.
Very lucky. I am also very lucky. I said every time only talking to baldies and grey people. I'm very lucky today. I actually pinched myself twice. Is it really happening? I only pinched.
Yes, it's happening.
I couldn't be seen in the camera, but for the camera's sake, I'm pinching myself third time. Yes, ma. Next.